Are you prepared?
Yes, he is.
Well,
done.
well, hello, good people. My name's Reg Dunkley, and I'm the host of the Victoria Center's Astro Cafe tonight. And this is going to be our great Lunar Eclipse after party. So it'll be very good. And I see that we've got our eminent Chris Gainor has joined us tonight. Chris, do you have any space news for us tonight?
Oh, that was actually here.
Okay, so we'll have space news.
Yeah.
So this is besides Chris's thing, we have Lauri's announcement. Randy's video is going to be shown by David Lee, and David, you've got some other stuff you're going to talk about the experience on the hill. We have moon images that I'll just display and other people can talk about that are actually Joe did a lovely job of putting them on our website. And I've got a couple of messages, so maybe we should start now. Let's see here. The technical host. Who's the technical host tonight?
Me, Alex.
Me, Alex. Okay. Could I share the screen?
Yeah, you should be able to just go ahead.
Okay.
It's always enabled.
Yeah, I'll bring it over.
You want to.
Yes.
Getting weird stuff here. Okay. So the first thing. You have to go to home, slideshow. Start from. All right. It's appropriate. It is actually St. Paddy's Day today. So we should, as a tribute to St. Paddy's Day, I have a thing called the Irish Eye. I'll attempt to do that. And it's in honor of anybody who has got Irish heritage. And so let's see what we have here.
Oh, not that we know. There were working intentional.
Okay. Does anybody know what this is?
Never.
A mirror.
It's an Irish eye.
It's the Irish Eye. Okay. So I'm disappointed nobody guessed it right, but actually this is the mirror, the original mirror from Lord Rosse's telescope in Ireland, Birr Castle Observatory, or they often call it the Leviathan. And I came across this in the Science Museum in London this fall. I took a picture of that, and quite amazing. And this is a write-up on it. And the giant mirror belonged to what was the world's largest telescope until 1917. And I thought, aha, that's because the DAO came online. But this mirror was as large as the DAO one. It was actually because in 1917, the 100-inch Mount Wilson telescope came online, and from that. It was started up, built by a fellow named William Parsons, the third Earl of Rosse, in a castle in Ireland. And I think that Jeff Pivnik possibly gave a really good talk on this a little while ago. I'm just going through some of the brief stuff we have on it now. It was quite world renowned, and it even appeared in the Jules Verne novel in 1865. I don't know if it had a speaking role or not, but there we have it. And it was put in a place called Parsonstown, and it had an F ratio of about F9. It was a Newtonian telescope, and the mirror is made out of speculum, a metal compound, and it weighed in at around 4,000 kilograms. So it was pretty heavy. And he had to have 5 goes at it before he got a decent mirror. And at any rate, I'll carry
What's the
on.
diameter?
So this is a 72-inch mirror, and the focal length is 54 feet 6 inches. And if you see here, it's kind of an unusual arrangement, and I could not figure out what all of these things did. But the person would put their eye in here, and it would go through a mirror, and they would observe it in a Newtonian fashion like that. So, but this is a model they made of it. It's a lot, makes more sense. So the person would actually be in this little place here, and it would crank up and down these ladders. Or if he was looking in the very top, he would be on one of these railings here and look down. So it was quite an ingenious device. And so it could only move in altitude or elevation. So it swing right up to vertical on that. But it had an ability to shift sideways. So it could actually go horizontally for a little bit of the time. So a person could have a longer view at things. It didn't just go whizzing by when things traverse the meridian. And this is where it was located.
Reg, what was that long axis? Was it north-south then?
Oh, there's been
Did
a
he say-
question.
Did he say where that, so where it went up and down, was that?
Oh, okay,
primarily
yeah,
north-south?
it's point, the whole scope was oriented, so it's north-south.
Yeah,
So it would go up like that. So it was sort of like a meridian telescope with a little bit of wiggle room to move back and forth.
okay, thanks.
So Parsonstown, he started using it in 1845. He died in 1867, but the fourth Earl of Rosse continued to use the telescope for quite a while, and he focused on clusters of stars and this sort of thing. And about 1890, it fell into disrepair. Now, Patrick Moore did kind of a talk on this thing and generated interest, and there was a movement to refurbish this telescope. I don't know if it's operational, but it is now apparently a tourist attraction in Parsonstown. Might be worth going there. It's right in the middle of Ireland, so it's nice. It's kind of off the beaten track. Probably still has pretty good dark skies if the clouds ever get out of the way. And this was his famous sketch done in 1845 of the M5, the M51, the Whirlpool. And I think that was the first indication that we had that there were spiral galaxies out there. And to confirm it, this is a pitiful shot that I took recently of the same object. And you can see there is some similarity there. So in the 19th century, I guess, Ireland were the world leaders in astronomy. So with that, I'm going to say thank you to them. And I'm going to try and unshare here.
Question,
Yes?
1845, that was the middle of the Irish potato famine. How many Irish children died to help make this telescope get erected?
Yeah, the question was, it was on a sad comment. I think I'm going to let that pass. I couldn't quite hear the question. Okay.
To put things in perspective.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to Lauri's announcement. She says there's an FDAO board meeting tonight, so she cannot make it to Astro Cafe, and she does apologize. The only thing I wanted to note that there is a star party this coming Saturday at the Center of the Universe with speaker Bob McDonald. RASC members who are listed as FDAO volunteers are invited to come up to the hill to put telescopes out, talk to the public, and be hosts at the welcome desk. You don't need to get tickets. There aren't many tickets left anyway, but you do need to be listed with Amy Rawson at the RASC as a RASC volunteer, and most people, I think the list rolls over from year to year. Oh, and the General Assembly for the RASC is on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's April 24th, 25th, and 26th. And it's completely online. Registration will be out within a few days. So put it on your calendar and join us for great programming. And that's with thanks to Lauri.
I'll add to the topic that is
Pardon me?
the topic for the Star Party. With Bob McDonald, he's talking about dark matter and the latest theory that dispenses with the need for dark matter to explain expansion and contraction of
Is
the
that
universe.
dark matter or dark energy?
Dark matter, like the weight or dark energy.
It's the dark energy, I think, is the topic. But this topic, she never gave it to me, so the topic
Yeah.
must be.
But it's pretty fascinating because when I heard the interview that Bob did with a gent, he's a co-author of the paper that was explaining the concept, and if I can summarize it, it's that dark matter was used, or dark energy was the theory that this exists was to explain this acceleration of the expansion of the
Yes.
universe, and they couldn't figure out what was causing this. So, add another constant to the equation, and the expansion fits the equation. But the latest theory is that the galaxies the filaments where the galaxy exists are contracting, but the vacuum, like the area between these filaments, is expanding. And so from our perspective, it looks like the universe is accelerating away, but when it's all in balance, it's actually kind of just hanging out. We're just expanding at different rates depending on where you are in the universe. And so it's pretty fascinating that the theory for the dark energy, which won a new Nobel Prize for the people that came up with it, may no longer be true.
There is a difference. There is a difference between. I'm sorry, I gotta make it move on. There is a difference between dark energy and dark matter. So there is dark matter can be shown to not needed to be exist to exist to explain galaxies, but dark energy is used to explain something completely different, and dark matter is just about dead in terms of a need to explain things, but dark energy is
this is about
totally different thing.
The dark energy or dark matter, which was used to explain the acceleration of the apparent acceleration of the universe.
Yeah, I put together an explanation for why it looks like there's dark matter, but why there really isn't. And
That's a different topic than this one. This is on dark energy and the expansion of the universe. And that's what it's, I believe that's what it's about. And it was some New Zealand who came up with this. And so it's kind of interesting. It's still controversial, and it's not entirely accepted.
Yeah, that's right. It's got to go through the peer review, but pretty fascinating.
Yeah, so it's breaking news science on Saturday night. So it should be a good show. Okay. So let's go to the moon images now. I'm going to attempt to share the screen again. And this is Joe. Joe, do you want to comment on this at all? These are the total eclipse images that we've got.
I don't think so. I think everyone can jump in who's featured on the page.
The first one is mine that I threw together at the last minute. I shot before the clouds came in. I was using my Canon D70 modified camera with a 400 millimeter lens at ISO 400, and this varies from 1/2000th of a second to 1/2 a second there. And unfortunately for me in Qualicum Beach, it clouded over just after totality, so I didn't capture any of the other side of it. But it was fun.
That's lovely. Thanks for sharing that. Mike, any comments on that one?
Um, well, actually, I started the day getting up before 6:30, and I looked out and see that the moon was very clear and it was going to descend into the clouds. So I took that picture thinking that's the last I'm ever going to see of the moon until next month sometime. So I was quite happy to see a large hole appear. And if you look on, I've actually posted 6, including the morning shots, just so you can see it's the same moon. And these were all shot with 600 millimeter on a Nikon 6.2. And I shot them both JPEGs and RAW at the same 2 different cards, and then I messed around with them. Obviously, I blew the highlights out on this one, but it shows that blue band really well, and I didn't even realize I was supposed to look for it until last week when we all were getting together. So that's the bit that came through the ozone layer, and there it is recorded.
Well, a bit of a spoiler alert. Randy, who can't be with us tonight, prepared a video and he talks about that as well. It's quite interesting, so we'll get to that. This is John McDonald's sequence. John's not with us tonight. With a very nice group, and you can see some kind of blurriness there. Other people encountered that problem as well, and I think a lot of that is due to thin cloud in the area. And Joe, these are yours?
Yes.
Didn't realize.
Composite. And yeah, I was surprised by the blue banding as well in the late partial phase. And like everyone else, I was skunked once totality, just before totality was midway. So it was not as rewarding as past eclipses. The 2019 eclipse was just crackerjack in comparison. I was really fighting with clouds in this for imaging anyway. And as we all know, the eclipsed moon was being eclipsed by clouds.
Yeah. So you got it the first portion of the eclipse, is that correct?
Yeah, that represents early partial phases up to totality. Yeah, you have to use the back arrow, unfortunately, because I did an embed on the website. If you want to get back to the website, you have to use the back arrow. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of hung up on me.
Left, you need to use a left. Yeah. It's asking you for cookies in the bottom right corner there of your browser. Maybe that's.
Allow all.
No advertising for the eclipse.
There's also the X in the top.
Reg, you can dismiss the window at the top right, where the X is. No, down where the.
You know what, looking at the screen, because you've got your gallery in front of them, so look at the screen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut down.
You see where I mean though?
And
If you,
what?
because you see where it is, it's in the, you gotta look up at the screen and move your mouse.
Down,
Yeah,
oh,
there.
there.
See if it, oh, but you're trying to draw now, yeah.
Well, just a second,
Yeah,
guys.
throw it away.
Please.
You're in Zoom's draw mode.
Yeah,
You know what?
just hit that.
Here we are.
Oh, you got it.
Didn't even know it had a draw mode.
Yeah, whiteboard. I think it's.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave. Good night.
There's the shrink arrows up top there.
I'm gonna get out of
Yeah,
this
it's just. There.
and I'm gonna go back to this thing.
Nicer image anyway.
Just a second.
While we've got 2 seconds, I want to thank Joe Carr. He's so much on the ball when idiots like me who don't post very often need a little hand. He gets back to you in 5 minutes, even if you use email.
So what I'm
Thank
gonna
you,
do,
Michael.
I'm gonna try. and
I like to record the observations, at least the highlights of observations of our group, because if it doesn't hit the website, if it slides by on social media, it's gone into that black hole within a day. So it's kind of nice to have it preserved.
Okay, folks.
Agreed.
What I did was back out of this, and I apologize for having everything locked up. And I go back to Zoom, share, come back here, share again, get out of this thing. Here we are. So I'm not going to dare click on any of these pictures ever again. So we had Mike, John McDonald, Joe, David Lee. Any comments on that, David?
Yeah, I guess I may as well do the a quick report from the hill at the same time. So basically, there were a number of us that was teaching a Nova course that evening. So I certainly got out imaging late in the game. I saw much of the early parts of the eclipse through binoculars, and then after the presentations were complete for the public, I kind of ran out there with my tracker and my camera, except the patio was almost totally full. So actually, Terry graciously let me have his spot on the patio. So I managed to get in there, except I was all ready, and then I started taking shots, and all of a sudden the clouds covered over. This is just before totality, and of course the crowd just booed. It was quite hilarious, actually. And after that, I managed to squeeze in a couple of shots. So I got this shot just before totality. So I've got other shots, but this was the better one of the group. So yeah, it was quite amazing. And then it clouded, and then eventually I got the message when it started pouring rain.
Well, did anybody on the hill report hail?
Kirsten told me when she got home it was hailing in downtown. For me, when I was driving home, it was just pouring rain. I could barely see, actually.
Well,
Yeah, we had hail in the city. I can confirm that. It was
Yeah.
a mix of hail and rain.
Down in Cabra Bay, we got about 20 minutes of pea-sized hail.
wow. Well, what an amazing evening. Now, Megan.
Yes,
this-
I was down at Sax Point Park in Esquimalt. I had my camera on a tracker, so I was taking sort of time-lapse footage. I was just taking images of the moon every 20 seconds. I have a video of that on the Zenfolio. I just didn't get around to uploading it till late Saturday night. But this I took right towards the beginning of the full eclipse, and you can see the clouds moving in there. So I noticed they were coming in, and so I zoomed my camera. I zoomed it out and shot about a 30-second exposure, and then I overlaid this 6-second exposure of the moon on it because the moon was a bit overblown in that image. But yeah, I liked how that came out with it about to get gobbled up by the clouds, which quickly started raining on me down at the park. I've never been rained out of astrophotography because I usually don't go out if there's clouds in the forecast, but that was the first time I got water all over my equipment.
Wow. What a resilient group.
That's
So-
a real cool picture. I like it.
So what we have here is Nathan I don't know what instrument he was using, but
Cookie cutter?
the cookie cutter, yeah.
Stove. Stove, yeah.
Yeah, I was mistaken. No, okay, and Randy's got a video he's gonna show. And here's more from Ron Fisher again. I guess this is the ones where he talks about the exposures he's got in there. 1/2000th of a second to 1/2 of a second. It's really remarkable how things change. And then this is from Charles Banville. And Tony Dell from Campbell River. And Bill Weir was at Efluent, I guess, was he? And wow, Dave Payne from Hawaii, beautiful. Very good. So what I might try and attempt to do a little bit later, if well, the video is being shown, I'll try to get on Zenfolio, see if I can open that up a little bit. But I do have one more thing here to show. Let's see.
And just while you're doing that, Joe posted the link. If you didn't see it, it's in the chat. For those not familiar with Zenfolio.
Yeah, so I that's why I know there's Zenfolio. I saw that flying by. So this is one that I took. Now in golf, there's 18 holes. This was the back 9. This is starting at the totality, and then it went all the way through. It was pretty cloudy, the initial part where I was located in Oak Bay. So I saw this and I said, yikes, and I ran out, put out a tripod, put a Canon T3i on there, just a little DSLR with a 25 millimeter lens, and I put a thing called an intervalometer on it that would allow it to take pictures every 30 seconds. So I got it all set up and then it clouded over. Then I came running out again a little while later and it opened up. So I started just letting it take pictures. It wasn't tracking. It just took about 10 pictures or 20 pictures. And then I would go out and I would move the camera and do another 20. And that I ended up with over 200 pictures. So this shows it. And to begin with, it was at ISO 1600 and 1 second. And I found that I had to keep adjusting the decreasing the ISO and shortening the shutter speed because this little thing got brighter and brighter and it started to wash out the moon. And so at the very end here, I'm at 1/80th of a second at ISO 400. So going from 1 second to 1/80th times a 4 times thing, it's about a what does that work out to? About 30. Goes from 1 second 80 to 320 times reduction in brightness at the end than at the beginning. So quite a significant range doing that, and it was actually a lot of fun to mess around with that. So if you don't have a tracker and you've got a bit of time, you can have a lot of fun with this, even with a fairly simple rudimentary rig like I've got here. So at any rate, that's mine. And there's been no image processing with this whatsoever. Those are just the regular images that I have there. So I'll stop the share. And I guess the time is for David Lee. David, do you want to show that video?
I will, and hopefully I'll remember to share with sound.
Hello, everybody. I didn't want to miss the eclipse after party, and so here we go. I've recorded this message about the stuff I did about the Thursday eclipse, and I hope you enjoy it. So let me share my screen. Share. And here we go. So, yeah, I set up a camera with a tracker, and here's part of the time lapse when there weren't many clouds, but the clouds definitely were coming in and out. And remember from my talk a couple of weeks ago about eclipse crater timing, one of the things I'm really interested in is if I were out in a ship in the middle of the ocean and I wanted to set my clock so I knew my longitude, there's been this goal of being able to do it by looking at when the Earth's shadow it goes over certain features on the disk of the moon during an eclipse. And it's been seen for 300 years that the Earth seems to be a bit bigger, or the shadow of the Earth seems to be a bit bigger than you would expect it to be just looking at the geometry of the size of the sun and the size of the Earth. And this continues to be a problem to today. Okay, so Kevin Bertels around 9:30 on Thursday came over, and as you can see in this photo that Eva took, there were clouds, but we could see it was going to clear up. And here is a 3-inch Maksutov and a 6-inch Newtonian. We were setting it up, getting ready, having the talking clock click off the seconds so that we could take our notes. And this is the end result. So yeah, we couldn't see the beginning of the ingress. We could see that the moon was getting a bite taken out of it, but it was only by the time it got about, over a third of the way across that we started being able to actually pick off these times when the shadow hit these various craters. And then the clouds came, and we decided not to try and wait for the egress, the Earth's shadow leaving the disk of the moon. And we picked up everything, and Kevin went home, and then the clouds came and the storm, and it was fierce. It was so loud. Anyway, I watched the end of the eclipse from inside through the skylight. This is just a cell phone picture to remind myself about what it was like. It was really nice, but there was a lot of clouds. It wouldn't have been very satisfying trying to get timing off the egress. But my friend Callie in Arizona, remember she gave a talk for us last year about, she's one of the operators of this huge MMT telescope in Arizona. Anyway, she also took some measurements, and I put them onto the same sheet that I had prepared, and then we, I turned it all into a nice spreadsheet, and it also includes the 2 measurements that I was able to do with Nathan back in 2022, the last good eclipse, and it was a pretty crappy eclipse. The last really good eclipse was 2019 here in Victoria. Anyway, let's see what they do with this data. I'm very keen to continue this study. But we weren't the only place to watch this eclipse, because the Blue Ghost lander had a great view of the eclipse from the surface of the moon. And this is one of the pictures that was released. And I was thinking, I can take a look at how big that atmosphere is. Don't forget, the moon, the sun is much, much smaller than the Earth looks from the moon. And so this is not the diamond ring that you would see during a solar eclipse. The Earth is far, far larger than the sun, but the atmosphere refracts some of the light around, and it comes to you when you're looking from the moon. So I thought, okay, let's fit a circle to the bottom and the top of this atmosphere. and see how big that was. But yeah, so you multiply the sizes by the radius of the Earth, 6,000 and something, and I'm getting 250 kilometers. Now, you may recall from my talk 2 weeks ago, I can understand 10 kilometers of atmosphere obscuring the light of the sun. Harold and Sinnott, 2014, say it's more like 80 kilometers. And that's already really hard to understand. But this one I got 250 kilometers. And I'm thinking, okay, this has to be optics. This has to be blowout in the camera. Each of those pixels is getting some extra light from neighboring pixels or something, because I don't see how it could be 250 kilometers of atmosphere. There's nothing up at 250 kilometers. Okay, so that made me think, well, there are other times that there are these observations. There was Surveyor 3 from the moon's surface in 1967. Apollo 12 in 1969, on its flight from the moon back to Earth, saw the sun occulted by the Earth, and they took some pictures. They actually took a 16 millimeter film, and it's pretty jerky. It's kind of funny when you see the film. It's not very high quality. Here's the one that was taken last Thursday. But look at this one from 2009 from the Japanese orbiter. So this is a ship that's going around the moon, and it caught this beautiful eclipse. And so here are different pictures. You don't see the whole ring because this is the surface of the moon underneath the atmosphere, or the Earth with its atmosphere. Anyway, this picture, I took this picture here and fit circles to it and multiplied the difference by 6,200 whatever kilometers, and I got 80 kilometers, which is interesting because that is the amount that Harold and Sinnott figured out in 2014. Anyway, more work to be done here. Is there still some pixel blowout going on here? Kind of looks like it. I'm going to keep working on this. Anyway, one more important aspect of Thursday's eclipse was this incredible high definition image taken by Deborah Saravolo. You might know her. She's just the most remarkable astrophotographer in Soyos. And through taking several pictures at different exposures, she could get the whole dynamic range of the eclipse. And there's definitely a blue band there. And it's like really, really obvious with the way that she did this picture. And so I was looking into this because she talks about how it is the ozone layer. And it turns out there is a new paper, 2024 paper, which goes right into this. And one of the sections talks about this blue band. And they go into how it is indeed because of ozone. Ozone, this funny 3 oxygen molecule, it shakes just at the right frequency to absorb red light and let blue light pass. It's remarkable. And so with their picture, so this is not a picture of how bright the image of the moon is. This is the ratio of the blue to the red. And this black part here is not black because it's dim. It's black because it's so red. But you can see, especially up here, that we're down where the blue is brighter than the red. But you see it in all of these pictures. You can see that there is this blue band related to something like 100 kilometers of ozone far above, high up in Earth's atmosphere, where it's very rarefied. And this unstable form of oxygen has enough life up there that it stays as a molecule and it soaks up the red light. So this is telling us a lot about we're looking through the upper part of the atmosphere at this blue band, but the actual occulted or the shadow, the umbra of the moon is below that. So again, I'm thinking we're looking at something which is in the shadow of the moon is in this very low part. Anyway, that's where we are right now with the eclipse, what we've learned from uh, our eclipse last week. Next one here is going to be March 2nd, 2026. It's going to be cloudy because it's March. So the next one after that, it's partial, but it's still good enough for these sorts of measurements in, August 28, 2026. See you there. Just stop share and I'll say goodbye.
That was great.
Well, thanks very much, David, for showing that video. And Natasha, that kind of addressed your question about the image taken by the satellite recently on the moon. Did that satisfy your needs there?
Yeah. That was great. And I'm wondering if Randy will be sharing that PowerPoint he just shared.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm wondering if Randy will share that presentation he just gave. There was some really fantastic stuff in there.
Well, it'll be on the video recording of Astro Cafe, so you can see it there.
Okay, thank you.
So one other thing I have announcement. The council meeting was scheduled, this coming up this week. It's been postponed to March 25th. And I have got those images again. I should have gone to the Zenfolio and looked for them, but Joe did a nice job of assembling them there. Would people be interested in seeing larger images of those items that I went through that were on the website? No, there's some kind of half-hearted yeses, so I think I'll go and I'll whip through this stuff fairly quickly, and it gives us an opportunity to just showcase some of the other stuff here.
Yeah, just to clarify, the website page that you showed previously just showed one image from each person, whereas the gallery shows all kinds of photographs, and of course, Megan's video and other things are on there as well.
Yeah, so Megan's video is keen to, let's see if we can get that working. So I'm going to recklessly try and share my screen again. And this is the series now. Unfortunately, all of my stuff is covered. Oh, there, I've got it now. It was covered by something that you can't see. Thanks very much, Chris. So this is the first image. It was taken by Joe Carr, the early partial phase. Then he's got one that you can see the shadow coming in. And then this is the one where you can see the umbral shadow coming in and almost obscuring everything there. And is this the blue band that you're talking about as well, that everyone else has been mentioning?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I was fighting clouds, but that was the best I could do. Michael has a much better blue band image, but yep. That's my blue band image.
And so this is your totality image. And this is your composite of everything there. So a really nice set there on March 13th. And so that is Joe's. And this one is the first one from Megan. Megan, you want to speak about any of these as we go through them? Please join in.
Will do.
Is she still with us? There she
Yes.
is, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go to your next one. This one was lunar eclipse with the clouds, kind of atmosphere. And then you got approaching totality, that's very nice. And then,
Yeah, that one's David's.
oh, pardon me, that's David, sorry. I'm confused because
Mine are out of order, I think.
Oh, wait a sec. Yeah, I'll get to yours in a bit. Okay, sorry about that. David, that's your one. It looks a lot nicer blowing up. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
This
it
is
was
John.
actually quite a long exposure. I don't know if anybody else mentioned that, but because I'm shooting at ISO 400, it's 4 seconds, and it had to be tracked. And I didn't have time to really align the mount, so I just kind of guessed.
Very nice. Yeah. And here's John's. Nice sequence there. And this is the early part, the beginning of the eclipse, not the end. And these are Ron's images. And he's got all the time of the exposures on there as well, which might be of interest to many. This is Randy's crater timings, which is an enormous feat to be able to do that under these conditions. And this is Charles Banville. So many don't know Charles, but he was a very active member in our club, and he was up all hours of the night to get absolutely beautiful shots. He was in Victoria, and he specialized in foreground shots. Got a lovely shot here in the downtown Halifax area.
I think if you look up the time, he stayed up late again. Because that was
4 hours ahead of us.
yeah, so that was something like 3 in the morning.
Yeah. I never said my pictures, my observing ended at 2 a.m. So
yeah.
I'm also a hardy soul.
Foolhardy.
If I do.
Foolhardy, yeah, that's good. Now this is Tony Dale, and I don't think I've met Tony, but he's got a really nice sequence of pictures here. This is the start of the partial phase, and then you can see the shadow coming in, and then the total lunar eclipse partial phase, and these things are completely fading out for them. Just a little sliver there.
Yeah, Tony is keen to get into astrophotography, but he just sent me some of his preliminary images and was thrilled this is his first time trying to image in the dark sky. So,
well, I don't see him on the Zoom meeting, but if he
No.
watches, if you
he's
let him know,
he's a newbie.
yeah. Well, at any rate, we should thank him for his contribution. That was great. And then there's Bill Weir's shot from Euclid. Very nice. And this is an array from from Nathan. But I can see that they're cookie-like features there. And then this is Dave Payne from Maui. And now we're getting to Megas. Look at this nice arrangement here, going all the way around.
Yeah, I did this composite just from the images I took from my time lapse. The middle one, I stacked a few images to make it a little more detailed, but I didn't have very many during the full eclipse before it got covered.
Really nice, really nice. And here's another partial eclipse with clouds.
Yeah, that's
So, but this is a highlight, a drum roll. I hope this will work. Okay, please, let's see if it works. I'm going to start this. There.
yes, you can see the clouds.
I think so. What's so interesting about this, Megan, was when the clouds were coming through, you could actually see the redness of the umbra around the cloud. It was almost like a halo. It's very nice.
Yeah.
So these are all on the Zenfolio site, so you might want to go back and look at them again. That was a great video as well. Thanks for doing that, Megan. Now, Mike Webb has got actually a whole pile of pictures. I just showed one beforehand. So, and he's got the times as well, showing that things are, so that goes from 10:02. This is what 11 minutes later is quite a change has taken place. And the blood moon in totality, pretty nice. And another picture of totality. An eclipse through clouds. And that is the medley of pictures we have. So thanks everyone for submitting those pictures. And Joe, thanks for doing a great job of assembling these things both on the website and in Zenfolio. So that was great.
Yeah, thanks very much, Joe.
One here, but it might be of interest that I might show again. So I'm going to start this up. And I'll share the screen again. And this is the all sky camera from the DAO. And I'm just going to advance it. Oh, the time is cut off here. I'm going to make it big. Can you see the time on her now?
Yes.
And we'll just run it through. That's at about 10 in the morning. We'll wait until late afternoon. You can get these, the DAO has a website where they have the all sky camera. And I find this very helpful to use. So this is about 8 o'clock at night. So we'll just go through, see what they had there. And see the moon there. You can see some raindrops on the lens. That's when David Lee was out and people were booing. You can hear them boo. At any rate, it was not ideal. The conditions were not ideal for lunar moon, but what a hardy group we are at RASC Victoria. We squeezed the best out of that whole episode. So at any rate, I'll just stop share there. And I guess the next thing is that we've had an awful lot of stuff going on space-wise, and we're very fortunate to have Chris Gainor here. Chris, would you like to let people in on what's going on?
Hello. I was going to make a comment about the eclipse, if I could first. I was thinking about, I just stayed at home in Sydney and saw a lot of things like other people. And I was thinking getting photographs, but it just didn't happen. But I thought that when we got into totality, this was one of the brighter eclipses that I'd seen during that time before the clouds kind of screwed everything up in the middle of totality. But I was, you know, I've seen some my recollection, I'm just throwing that out, wondering if 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 anybody else felt the way I did. You know, it was there's just a bit more brightness to it, the reddishness and all that, and the blue band.
Anybody have comments on that?
Hey, Chris, I think it was quite variable. I think some people that saw it, I know Bill felt that it was quite pale. For me, it went through the whole gamut. You know, we were out on the patio, we saw it in different variations. The cloud actually made a huge difference. There were many times when I got images when I could barely see it in the sky, but it still penetrated through. And I think though, when it was absolutely clear, there were a few moments when it became absolutely clear. Of course, this is when my camera was put away. I I noticed it was extremely clear and very, very red. Is that your experience, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I can remember some that, you know, they would get so dark during totality, you'd have a hell of a time finding them.
Yes,
You
yes.
and at least when in the early part where I was, when the clouds were too bad, you know, I thought it really stuck out. So
Would the distance between the Earth and the Moon, like the variation there, could cause like a darker totality?
Well, there's various things that cause it, but the other thing I noticed, I had a look in Stellarium to see the position of the moon inside of the shadows, like inside both the umbra and the penumbra. And this one doesn't go through the middle. It actually kind
oh
of
yeah,
almost grazes. It almost grazes. So it comes through and it's at some point, even at totality, one edge is quite close to the penumbra.
that's right, and that's clear in pretty well every picture during totality. So
Yes.
that's certainly part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can confirm on that as well. And so what we did was have some light leakage around that area getting in there and spoiling the effect. So the next time the moon better do a better job of going through the center of the shadow.
But on the other hand, I was blown away by the blue band. So I'd never really observed the blue band that distinctly before. So maybe that geometry helped us in that regard.
Yeah, I didn't notice it as much this time, Joe, but in 2019, as I mentioned last week, it was very blue for me anyways. So if you look at my 2019 shot, it's not just a band, it's blue.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I was blown away as well, but that was from fierce westerly winds that were blowing through the whole bay, and it was very cold. And I was really thankful for the intervalometer because I could be lazy. I could turn it on for 10 minutes, run in and watch Netflix, and then pop out again. So I had a very comfortable experience with Eclipse, and it was a real highlight. I really had fun with it the other night.
Reg, you need to suffer more like the rest of us.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll get back to space and actually not a huge amount. You know, the last little while there's been so much. You know, last week we had 2 landings on the moon and a couple of rockets blowing up and all sorts of things. And I'm just gonna admit I was gonna say something about Blue Ghost, but I think Randy handled that quite well. The other thing is last week I was talking about how the Starship, which is this gigantic rocket that flew up last week, they're hard at work assembling the next one. So whatever caused that one to explode doesn't seem to set them back that much. I did see a show kind of explaining what happened, and it seemed to be a matter of harmonics, which caused the engines in the second stage to come loose. And of course, some of our friends in engineering will understand that concept, that you have to basically tune these rockets in effect so that they don't shake themselves apart. That seems to be what happened there, and I'm sure some changes have been made to deal with that. So anyway, they're charging ahead with that. We'll see where that all goes, but and I think that's of some interest because that would affect the next human landing on the moon and perhaps even going to Mars. But we'll have to see how that all goes. The other thing I was going to talk about is that, of course, there's been a great interest, and I've been talking about the 2 stranded astronauts on the International Space Station. So the other day, a Dragon spacecraft docked at the space station with the replacement crew. And while we've been sitting here at this meeting, the crew 9, which includes those 2 stranded astronauts, have been moving into the Dragon that's been docked there since last fall. And probably they've closed the hatch by now. And in about 2 hours or so, they will undock from the International Space Station and land on Earth tomorrow afternoon sometime off the coast of Florida. So that's the schedule, and that whole saga will come to an end. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of coverage on TV about it. I believe if you're really interested in it, NASA is probably streaming. Yeah, there we go. They've got live streaming coverage of that event, and right now we've got a view of the mission control in Houston, but probably when the spacecraft pulls away, we'll be seeing that, and then tomorrow afternoon we'll see the splashdown, and then it'll be all over, but the press conference after, I guess. And yes, I see we're getting a picture inside the Dragon.
Yep. Yeah.
That's right. So the Butch and Sonny, when they went up in the Boeing spacecraft last June, of course, they wore blue Boeing spacesuits. And tonight they're putting on their white SpaceX spacesuits. They had to bring up another set of spacesuits for them for the reentry. So
Why is that? Do they have to have they got different attachments?
that's right. That's right. They're designed to work with a specific spacecraft, so they had to change them out. So that's basically what I have to say about the world of space tonight.
Okay, thanks very much. It's been an interesting saga, the whole deal.
Yes.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I've heard NASA's budget's gonna be cut by 50%. Have you heard that?
Well, yeah. I talked a little bit about that last week. I mean, there's going to be cuts. We don't know how much. Rumors are flying around all over the place, and I'm not sure what the date will be, but because usually it's around this time of year, but it's probably different because of the new administration. That they just table the whole budget for the U.S., which includes NASA. Now that's what the administration proposes, and then of course Congress has to work on it, and they usually make some changes. Right now, they're still in a situation where whatever Trump wants, Trump gets, and so we'll see what happens. But yeah, everything is up in the air. They still haven't ratified the new NASA administrator yet, so I don't think I should say much more than that because it just who knows.
Yeah, you just think of the tension for the poor employees in the organization.
And some of them are already getting pink slips. So
yeah, it must be very discouraging.
Yeah.
On a local level, a friend that I have coffee with every week, his next door neighbor in his condo, their niece was the person who's the captain of that ship that flew up as a replacement ship there. So it's so commonplace now. They didn't even, he knew them for years, and maybe they never mentioned that their niece was an astronaut or anything. It's kind of strange.
This crew 10 that went up last week, and I've forgotten the names, but it's a crew of 4, and they'll be up there for a few months. One is from Japan, one was a Russian. They usually have joint crews on all these up and down things. But the commander and the pilot are US astronauts, both women, and I think that's the first time that's ever happened. We've had flights, even shuttle flights, commanded by women, or shuttle flights and Dragon flights with a woman pilot. This is the first time both the pilot and the commander are of the female persuasion. But you know, very little is being said about it because, of course, that's verboten under Trump.
Yes.
And actually, I heard somewhere that the commander is even a lesbian. So there you go.
Oh, it's terrible. He'll be just dying because of that.
That's right. But they're both experienced Air Force pilots and you know, very extremely qualified for the job.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting that there be so many astronauts now. It's not as big a talking point. You probably don't even have the keys to the city. You know, that sort of.
Yeah.
It's weird. At any rate, so has anyone else got any contributions to add tonight? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Shawnick. I just wanted to go back to the eclipse, and I live at Clover Point. So to me, it was very clear. I mean, I gather it was for you as well, some of you, for most of the period until the maximal, or I guess going into the full eclipse. But I find it interesting to listen to you who are also technical and experienced. This is my first eclipse watching it. And I didn't, like, you're so visual. I'm just saying this, it's curious. Whereas what I saw, I was filled with wonder at seeing our planet. It was like looking in a mirror, you know, that we were reflected in the sky. That's actually what I saw, as opposed to visual detail. So I just thought to share that because it's interesting, right? How do you observe? What are you doing when you observe a lunar eclipse? And I thought it's interesting how my imagination kicked in so much.
Well, thank you for that, Sonic. I often think about that myself, you know, like when when you do have a technical slant, you're really focused on the details of the task and forget to experience the thing, right? So maybe they should take our cameras away from us sometime.
I do have to make a concerted effort to like remember what I'm looking at and that it's actually really cool. So when I was imaging the eclipse, I like kept looking at my camera and I kept changing the exposure settings, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here and let my camera go and just appreciate that I'm watching the shadow of the Earth move over the moon and just how cool that is.
Yeah, because it's more than just beautiful, right? Like it does create, when you know what it is, like quite a wonder, right? It's kind of wonderful in that way. Yeah.
I observed the backyard, and the neighbor was out on his porch and also observing it, and he was just in awe of this situation. And of course, I was working my camera on the telescope, but listening to his comment, he just in awe of it. And then I also heard of someone who refused or didn't want to look at the moon because they'd heard some story that, you know, it might might impart bad luck. Looking at I don't know if that the origin of that is through astrology or some other culture, but there's some people that didn't want to look at the full moon because it might impart some bad luck.
Well, the thing is, that's why I started late, because it was March 14th when I observed. Everyone else was March 13th, so we'll just watch it the next little while, see what happens.
Friday.
Okay.
It's Thursday.
If there's nobody else.
Where are the Ides of March?
Yes.
Oh, yes, yeah, right. At any rate, I'd like to thank everybody who contributed tonight, and I also want to thank the team that brought and made the coffee, and the technical team that set up everything here at Sir James Douglas School, or the Fairfield Community Center as it's now called. And I guess we're back to next week. There'll be another Astro Cafe next week. And if you can get up to the hill to hear Bob McDonald's talk, it sounds like it's going to be really interesting, and maybe man a scope, and maybe we'll even have some clear skies. So we'll see. At any rate, so everybody, good night, and thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reg.
Thank you.
I won't be going up to here.